Hello, I'm Neil Fleming. I'm the global head of the Editorial group here at Argus, and I'm talking here to Adam Nye, head of business development for our latest and newest sector, the voluntary carbon market. Adam, tell us in just a couple of sentences, what is the voluntary carbon market?
Well, the voluntary carbon market has really grown in demand from the private sector corporations who want to contribute to the Paris climate goals. So they're making pledges to reach net zero. And obviously the first step for them to do that is to actually decarbonize their business physically in some way. The problem is that in the short and medium term it's not really yet possible to do that completely in many cases, and so they're left with these residual or hard to abate emissions. And so the voluntary carbon market has really grown up to provide a mechanism by which they can, and has introduced the concept of offsetting those emissions. So we have a variety of different activities called projects that seek to either avoid emissions or remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere completely. They will issue credits that represent those negative emissions, and a corporation can acquire that credit, offset that against the residual emissions in the carbon accounting, and hence reach net zero.
And what sort of people, what sort of companies are engaging with this market, and how fast is it growing?
Well, so far there seems to be two main types of company that are let's say the early movers in embracing this market. On the one hand, you have, as you might expect, those companies that have the largest carbon footprint, so the largest amount of carbon emissions to offset. So that's typically oil and gas majors and utilities, but energy intensive industries in general. And then on the other hand, you have companies that perhaps driven by demand from their investors and their customers, in particular companies that have strong brands. They want to be seen to be embracing the climate goals and taking action, and so we see companies like Microsoft, Google, Nestle and so on. So these large global brands that really want to be seen to be doing something. So at the moment it's those two. In terms of growth, I think behind every company that is currently actively engaged, there are dozens that have not yet taken that step. So the potential growth as we look forward is really quite potentially quite large.
And what's the relevance of the carbon offset markets to traditional hydrocarbon markets, crude, oil and products?
Well, as well as a corporation can acquire a carbon credit to offset its emissions, but you can also apply that carbon credit to a parcel of a physical commodity, so a cargo of crude oil, a cargo of LNG, or whatever it may be. So there's obviously emissions inherent in any physical commodity, and to the extent that an oil major or a gas utility wants to deliver carbon neutral products through its retail clients or its distribution network, by acquiring carbon offsets to offset the carbon dioxide inherent in these products, it can produce these carbon neutral fuels. So the concept of offsetting can be applied as well as to a corporation, also to a physical commodity.
Adam, thanks very much.